I didn't have to do this. There were plenty of other things I could be doing, like visiting friends, eating brunch, cleaning my apartment. But instead, I decided to run a marathon at high altitude, through rivers, on a hot day in the far west of Austria. That doesn't sound like a sensible decision, so why am I here?
Quite spectacular. This place is spectacular. See these spectacular mountains. What an extraordinarily beautiful trail this is.
The Montafon Arlberg Marathon takes place in a slightly more remote and very beautiful part of Western Austria, not far from Switzerland. This is not a big famous event, but that's part of its charm. It isn't crowded, it's very friendly, and dozens of locals from sports clubs and mountain rescue and even the fire brigade happily give up their time to make sure that we have a great day. This would be a day of firsts for me. My first time visiting Arlberg, my first time running at 2,000 meters altitude, and the very first time I actually managed to find the pre-race pasta party.
St. Anton Arlberg, 5:45 in the morning. I'm off to do the Montafon Arlberg Mountain Marathon. We have to take a bus at 6 a.m. from here to go to the start, which is on the other side of the mountain. So this is Zilbertal, the start of our race today. Looks like most of the villages turned out to help. My main challenge today, apart from running 42 kilometers over a mountain, is going to be the heat. So I have to think carefully about trying to stay cool as far as I can. I'm going to win the prize for biggest hat here today.
2, 1, los geht's!
Here we go again. First part of this race is simply 2 kilometers down the hill along the road to the next village, then turn around, come back up to the start again. An extra 4 kilometers to make sure that we do 42. And 1.5 kilometers in, and it is already hot.
The trail was very straightforward. After the initial 4-kilometer loop, all we had to do was follow a river valley, climbing towards the high point, which was a plateau full of streams and rocks and lakes.
Thank you. And here we are back at the start. Cheaters. I decided not to bring poles on this trail today because most of the gradients aren't that steep. So far it's been a mixture of runnable gradients and walkable, but nothing that would really make me feel that poles would help. See how that goes. We have water stations every 4 kilometers, so in theory I don't need to bring any water at all. But I want to regulate how much I drink, so I brought 1 bottle. Because I want to drink about between 500 and 700 milliliters per hour, which is 1 bottle plus 1 cup or so. So that way I can keep track of what I'm doing and hopefully not drink either too much or too little. Plus I'm also taking salt tablets. Hopefully those two things combined will keep my hydration and electrolyte level at the correct level. We'll see. So we've got a long period without shade coming up, but it's clearly cooler now. We'll come up already at 400 meters in altitude, so the air is already starting to feel cooler. And of course, this open part allows us to see these spectacular mountains. 18.5 kilometers. We're getting close to the top of this part and the wind is picking up. So now it's time to discover whether this piece of string is effective. This tiny little thread that's supposed to hold the hat on. Wet feet. Totally wet feet. Actually, it feels nice. Not too hot at the moment. The air is cool up here, and there's some breeze, sometimes gusts of wind. What an extraordinarily beautiful trail this is. Once the feet are wet, they can't get more wet. Almost lost one shoe back there in the bog. Now we're turning slowly, keeping the sun behind us. I've been keeping up carefully with my hydration, eating my salt tablets. This hat has made a huge difference, I think. It really helps on a day like this to have a light hat that gives you a lot of cover. I think one of the themes of today is fighting the impulse to jump into one of these rivers, which look fantastic. Probably die of a heart attack though. Or else get swept away and smashed on the rocks.
In the second half of the course, we had a long run down the valley towards St. Anton, but before we could get there, we had to climb up again over a series of hills totaling 300 meters climb.
Just over 10 kilometers left, but with one 200-meter climb involved. Yeah, things have gone hot in the end. I'm properly hydrated but slowing down. I find it really hard not to slowly become overheated on days like this. I'm doing better than I have done in previous races thanks to better clothing and hydration discipline. It hasn't brought me to the end of the race. And I've got the feeling that my stomach will eventually turn. Final 10k. 10k, such an easy distance. Why is it always so hard at the end of a race? I forgot. There's the second final hill. They had a landslide in the heavy rain, so they had to build a diversion around. Unfortunately, the diversion involved another extra 80-meter climb. The bells are warning the townsfolk that there's a foreigner approaching very slowly.
At the end of my race, I was tired, too hot, and even a little nauseous. I could have spared myself all that. I didn't have to do this. But how else could I have seen all this? It was completely worth it. And of course I'll do it again, so I'll see you out there.